This is Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, and you are now somewhere in the ring.
The following podcast is scheduled for one recording with no time limit. Making their way down to somewhere in the ring, Andrew Sanford and Ryan Sprague.
We're now recording.
No, it's okay. Look, I don't want to get too big for my britches. You know what they say? It's that just because I have this very soft, very plush universal title, it doesn't mean I'm better than anybody else. A lot of people will say that, and I'm not going to stop them. But it's just not correct.
Are you going to use really big words that the crowd doesn't understand?
Indubitably.
Indubitably, yeah. You're going to start using work and shoot and peek behind the curtain. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, anti-disestablishmentarianism. So...
Where was that title? Where was that title belt made, Andrew? If you're watching this on YouTube, guys, Andrew is holding up a plush universal title.
Bleacher Buddy is the company.
Okay.
And I got this from our good friends at Ringside Collectibles.
Incredible.
So that's it was a gift for my boys, and I've been using it more than they have, which is probably for the best. They have hit me with it several times. I'm going to toss it aside. Also, this is Somewhere in the Ring, a podcast where we talk about wrestling, and we got some wrestling to talk about.
Dude, we are running on a high from last night. You and I were texting all night. This was, okay, we had the debut of Raw on Netflix last week. Pomp and circumstance, big stars.
I'm Andrew. I'm Andrew, by the way.
Oh, hi. I'm Ryan. I guess we should do that sometimes.
Yeah, you never know. Every podcast is someone's first podcast, right?
That's true. That's true.
Right?
So we're going to be talking about Netflix Part D today.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Part D.
Yeah, how are you doing? How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. We're moving right along. I'm just kind of going with the flow. It's a long day today. How are you? Ryan? How's Hawaii?
Hawaii is incredible, as always. I will spare our audience with the circumstances as to how and why I get to go to Hawaii so much. We won't rub that in. But no, it's an incredible opportunity I'm afforded by my amazing partner and her parents. They live here, they have a car here that they don't use, so
nice.
As long as we can take that big metal flying tube across the ocean, pretty much everything here's I don't want to say free, because a gallon of milk is about $20, I want to say, but yeah.
Oh, no cows in Hawaii, huh?
No cows.
Oh, okay, good. I said that, and then I was like, Andrew, that was a dumb thing to just say.
There are cows, but there's just not enough to afford the dairy needed for the entire. Wow, what are we doing?
You mean they're not hoarding hundreds of cows into small areas to force them to give milk?
No.
What kind of island is this? What kind of islands are these?
I don't know what you're thinking about, man.
How is that life? Surely they have, I don't know, copious amounts, copious chickens crammed into small spaces, being force-fed corn, so they can produce that, right? That's happening over there.
Yeah, sure. What is? Holy cow! I feel like we're making a documentary.
Holy cow! Indeed.
Holy cow! I didn't even mean to do that. All this to say, Andrew, I will be leaving the island of Oahu on Friday, and I'm gonna be rubbing shoulders with the one and only Andrew Sanford. I'm gonna be in New York City, baby.
Woo! That's
so we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll
Buddy, pack your jackets.
I've heard.
Oh man, it's cold. It's cold.
I've heard it's.
I think it's only going to get worse by next week. So
oh God!
Welcome. We'll be excited
home.
to see you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But hey, we've got a lot to discuss, to celebrate.
Quite a bit. So much so that I think you gave us our first outline in over a month.
Maybe
longer.
I did that.
Why not?
I might as well have just gone through our. I know. I might as well have just gone through our text thread. If you're watching this on YouTube, I've got endless texts from you and I.
Yeah. It was an active Raw. Look, It was also a very good Raw. I don't disagree with that, and I think it was kind of a perfect follow-up. If we want to just dive right in, because I liked that first episode. I liked the first Raw on Netflix, right? I thought it was good. I thought it was a good introduction, and I thought it was the best use of the top of the card. You know what I mean? The best use of their most popular wrestlers. And then this week was the best use of, like, I don't want to say mid card necessarily, but you know, it was some mid card kind of stuff. And it was just a good night. It was a lot of good matches, a lot of high energy, more wrestling this week than celebrity cameos. So that's always a plus.
Can you believe, Andrew? Can you believe? And I agree with you on all fronts. The wrestling was incredible. Some of the best I've seen on Raw in a long time. Can you believe there was only 4 matches though?
Really?
Isn't that crazy?
I am actually kind of stunned by that. They were long then. They were some long matches. One that I know that was too long for you, but
not by the end. Not by the end.
Yeah. And that being said, like, they were like, I thought they were all really good matches. Like, that was, they probably pound for pound. Well, it's tough because I do think that, like, last week was all about spectacle and this week was more about wrestling. And I think that, you know, both are important. And it's not to say that, like, CM Punk and Seth Rollins didn't throw down last week, but it was also, like, incredible to kick off the show with a promo between the two of them and then to bring in Drew McIntyre. That was like, watching those guys on the mics is incredible.
I guarantee you 99.9% of that was not scripted, was not planned.
Oh, sure. Three
are the type of 3 that you could say, you guys have 10 minutes, go out there, do what you got to do. The ending has to be that all 3 of you are going to the Royal Rumble, which is what we learned in this opening segment. So I guess we can break it down a little bit. I mean, it was CM Punk and Rollins first, kind of retreading some of their old qualms with one another, I guess. But we also got to see Seth Rollins' black eye that he got last week.
And I love that. Like, I feel like at first they weren't going to say anything, and then they clearly got a note about 2 minutes in, Cole and Pat McAfee, where because all of a sudden they were like, yeah, Rollins with that black eye that he got from the go to sleep last week. And I'm like, oh boy, that, like, now what's so funny is because they are given more freedom, as they should be, now when they are fed a line, it's very jarring and it's very clear, I think. Man, but it was great. It was incredible. It was the kind of, I love that they are just like, let's bring all these threads together. I love that Rollins and Punk aren't done yet. And I love that they're putting so much hype into the Rumble. And I feel like they don't have a lot of time to do so, which is kind of interesting. I feel like the Rumble build up sometimes a little too long. Like, people will announce they're joining the Rumble, they're going to do the Rumble in like mid-December sometimes, and it's like, okay,
I totally forgot. Yeah,
exactly. Like, so that I like that it's like, oh, they're going to do the Rumble, and it's 2 weeks from now, like a week and a half at the point of this recording. Like,
crazy.
It's pretty exciting. So or maybe it's it'll be like 2 weeks from Saturday. Either way, it's exciting stuff, and I think that I didn't want to see Rollins and Punk be done, which I was kind of surprised by. Once they came out, because I think I probably even said at the end of last week's episode that I was like, oh, okay, this is probably the end of their feud. But I'm not upset that it's not. And I like the idea of Rollins trying to be like a spoiler for Punk.
Right. Because, I mean, if you think about it, since Punk has come back, Rollins has been injured, Punk is injured. Like, these things just couldn't line up to where this was supposed to be a WrestleMania match a couple of years ago now at this point. And, you know, we got this fantastic match last week on the Netflix debut. But you're right. These two haven't actually thrown down, like, at all since Punk came back. So I do think you're right. We do need to see them keep going. Look at the feud between Punk and McIntyre. What did
got a lot out of it.
3 or 4 matches. Yeah, so
I think it was three.
It
It was three.
Okay.
Yeah, because they did have kind of a definitive. All right, Punk won the third match, so that's it.
Bad
kind of
blood.
a situation.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
and I like that. Like Rollins was playing into his heel mode a little bit more, even though he's the crowd still likes him clearly. And I think that there was an old Harris Whittles joke on Twitter when when Twitter was still a place for jokes. Stay with me. Which is, he's like, I wish there was a word for when Mark Maron has somebody on his podcast and makes you feel and like you end up liking them, like, or like somebody you don't like on his. I'm butchering the joke, but it was this idea of like, oh, somebody goes on WTF with Mark Maron, all of a sudden you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe they're not that bad. Like they seem like
Humanizes
like,
them.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a similar thing going right now with CM Punk. And how he when I wasn't the hugest Drew McIntyre fan, and I thought their feud was really good, and now I'm excited to see more Drew McIntyre. I wasn't the biggest Seth Rollins fan, and I think their feud is really good, and I thought that match was really good, and I think they make each other look better. So it's kind of that fun, like, oh man, I hope, I'm trying to think of who CM Punk could wrestle next, so I can actually like enjoy them a little bit more. Don't get me wrong, I never like disliked Seth Rollins. And I think I liked him well enough. Drew McIntyre, I was never really the biggest fan of, and I still think the sword is stupid. But
he hasn't brought that thing out in a long time, though. That's
good.
Let's acknowledge that.
Yeah, good. It's dumb. It's dumb.
We could have an hour discussion on that alone, Andrew.
Yeah. Oh, is he gonna kill somebody? He's gonna start cleaving people in half with his broadsword?
It's like a shish kebab, baby. I love it.
It makes no sense.
Well, okay. It's not going to happen. I know.
Sorry,
well,
okay, go ahead.
Let's talk about the star-studded Royal Rumble that's being set up so far.
Wait, now. Don't think. Just say, who do you think's going to win?
Oh my gosh.
Don't think. Just say a name.
Cena.
Okay. I think CM Punk. I think Punk's got it on lock. I think they're pushing that's my dream angle too much. And I really think that was part of the deal in getting him back, was that he gets to check off some boxes. Also, and to be fair, I did not think about this until I saw somebody else mention it. They are promoting Cena so heavily for Elimination Chamber that I feel like that's how he's going to get his title shot or title.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, like he is. It's so funny. Like you see John Cena for like 25 plus seconds before you even see that they're talking about Elimination Chamber in that ad. It is just like, oh, here it is, big deal. Okay. Here comes John Cena, and also it's an Elimination Chamber. Like it's the Elimination Chamber is secondary. Right. He could go in there, winner of the Royal Rumble. Who knows? But yeah, I don't think that's a bad guess, though. I do think, and I think we talked about this, like he's going to end up with a world title within the next couple of months.
I hope so. Like I've never been a huge Cena fan, but I can admit, like the dude has given back to the company time and time again. He's done so much outside of the ring. Like he deserves it. He deserves that record. He deserves to go out on that note.
Also, just think about it promotion-wise. He might not be in the movie, but he's probably going to be on the red carpet for Superman when that comes out. He can be on the red carpet with the World Heavyweight title or the Universal title, like a big WWE logo slung on his shoulder. Peacemaker Season 2 comes out like right after that. He'll be doing promotion for that as well. He could have the belt with him the whole time. Like it helps both. Because I think it was very calculated that he took this year to do that, to have his retirement tour. So I think, it would only make sense to have him have the belt on him while he's doing other things.
Absolutely. So far in the Royal Rumble, we have LA Knight, Jey Uso, John Cena, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, and the OTC Roman Reigns. Yeah. So, dude, this is going to be insane. And that leaves
exciting.
24 more wrestlers? Oh, my God.
And I love that. I feel like last year's men's Royal Rumble was light on surprises, which I'm fine with. I don't I don't get as much of a thrill from surprise entrants anymore. Like I'd rather they use it to pick up on storylines and stuff. But yeah, it's gonna be huge. Like it's really exciting. And I also, here's my thing, and we'll get into it, or I guess we can get into it now because this is something that we disagreed on last night. I think that having Jey Uso fight Gunther at Saturday night's main event is going to be huge. I think Jey Uso is going to win, and I think Gunther is going to be a very formidable person in the Royal Rumble. Maybe they end up having Jey Uso against Gunther for a rematch there, but I do think that they didn't have a title change hands in the first one. I think they would be more likely to do that for the second one. I think Gunther is the kind of opponent to have Jey Uso beat to kind of like fully push him into that main card. You know what I mean? Like leadership position. It was one of those great things where when they announced this last night, you could hear the crowd going nuts over the tape, like, because they're so excited. People love Jey Uso. I loved his San Jose Sharks Yeet shirt. Yes, that was awesome.
So cool.
I think it's his time. Like, and I think that this is, and I think that people like him, and I think that Gunther wouldn't mind losing to him because it is one of those, like, it's almost like a David versus Goliath situation in a sense, but not like an unbelievable one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I love Gunther's little line about, like, I'm going to expose you for what you are, which is a great tag team wrestler. Like, just like dragging it right in. Because I think that's how Jey Uso gets looked at. But it's undeniable that he's had a good year when they give him main event matches. He's main event Jey Uso. And I think that Gunther needs to be more in the Universal title picture, and this is how you do it. I never saw him holding the World Heavyweight title for that long, certainly not as long as the Intercontinental title. And I think this is the time. This is the way you do it.
I am sold, man. I love that setup, and we'll get to a little bit back to main event in a little bit because we have some thoughts on.
Oh yeah, yes, yeah.
So we'll get to that for sure.
Good. I'm glad you brought that up. What was the first match of the night? Actually, one more ancillary thing before we get to the matches, because we had the little Karrion Kross Miz backstage thing, which is great. Well, you were right. It's great. I love the Miz. I think they've been using Karrion Kross a lot better than they have before.
Yes.
Did you notice what happened in that little moment, though? The bigger thrust of that little thing that they just kind of buried aside.
Was it about? Okay, you're gonna have to.
The Wyatt Six have been moved to SmackDown.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, what's up with that? Like, what's going on? Why did they just unceremoniously move an entire supernatural faction to the other brand?
It's just not working. I think that's like something that they probably don't want to push on newer fans, if that makes sense. Because I do think that the big point of Netflix is you want to get younger people, you want to get newer people. And the kind of mystical stuff, there's a reason that Undertaker came out on a motorcycle last week instead of appearing with the lights turned off. And I think they're already...
Yeah.
Yes, I think they're pushing a more grounded angle there. And, the Wyatt Six got banished to cable, which I think is just... I hear, like, it has been, I think... there is nothing that has happened this year that has fallen off more quickly than that angle. Like, just that. Dude. Yeah, but it's also like it's a mix of things. You don't have Bray Wyatt behind there, and if you've heard any of the stuff about him recently, like I think it was Karrion Kross or Bo Dallas, somebody said recently that there was a whole plan where they were going to have members of the Wyatt Six on each show. And they were specifically going to have Wade Barrett reveal at one point that he was a secret member of the Wyatt Six, just so they could even have like an announcer, like just some interesting kind of stuff. And I think that it's just when it comes down to it is it's trying to make, this might not be a great example because people like this movie. It's trying to make AI without AI, artificial intelligence, without Stanley Kubrick. It is trying to do one of those Wheel of Time novels where like the last two are written by somebody who's not the author and people don't like them as much, or Frank Herbert's son taking over the Dune books at one point and then just driving them into the ground. And that's not a shot at Bo Dallas because I do think that they tried their best, but I think what we have seen is probably just what they got out of Bray Wyatt's notebook, and then there's not really much after that. There's no clear direction for them. There's no, I mean, they haven't been using them very much. Maybe they'll get more play on SmackDown, but it's
like the Rings of Power trying to use the Silmarillion, right?
Sure. Yeah. No, yeah, you're not wrong.
They bought the property and now they're making up their own stuff and going completely against, everything in the Silmarillion. Oh man, I could talk about that for hours too. Man, oof, ooh, baby. That is such a good point, dude. I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot about the Wyatt Six, and that's not a good thing. So we'll see. I'm sure Karrion Kross is very happy. He's like, all right, those guys are gone. Now we can be the sort of dark and mystical team. I don't know.
That's until Malachi Black comes back, or what the heck his name, whatever his name was when he was on. Oh, have you not heard about any of that?
No.
He is basically like everybody's. So there was, who was it? That's a member of his. Buddy Matthews was against Will Ospreay, and Ospreay like convinced Buddy Matthews to like leave Malachi Black stable at the end of the night or something like that. And then it's gotten to the point where everybody's like, yeah, he's pretty much like he's gone. He wanted to get out of there. He had the possibility to have 2 more years left in his contract, but he's been wasted over there. They barely used him. And he's incredible.
What is going on, man? What is going on over there?
Hey, look, and I'll hold on to it, but there's another contract thing that ties into one of the matches that happened last night.
I know exactly what you're talking. Let's get to it.
Sure. Was that the first match of the night? Wait, let's go now. It was the first match of the night?
First match of the night. Yep, we had I almost said Kurt Angle.
Hey, look, I do not mind that they are going full Kurt Angle with him. I do not mind. I think he wears it well.
Absolutely, brother. So we had Chad Gable. He issued an open challenge to any luchador in the world to wrestle him. What a super specific challenge, right?
Excellent. Yeah. I love it. At the beginning of the match, Michael Cole was like, that's the worst kept secret in wrestling.
I'm glad they acknowledged it. We all knew it was happening. We didn't know when. And I thought this was perfect to start week 2 of Raw on Netflix.
It would have been too much last week.
Exactly.
Yeah, it would have been too much last week.
So who is this person, Andrew?
Penta.
Who is our mystery? Penta. All right. There he is on your screens if you're watching this on YouTube.
Here's the thing. Man. I will fully admit this is the first full Penta match that I have ever seen. He and his brother often fought the Young Bucks over at AEW, and I do not care for the Young Bucks, so I didn't watch any of those matches. I'm sure they had other matches as well, but you know how we are. I am, shamelessly more of a WWE person. But I was happy to see him come over here. This is one of the best debuts I've seen. I even think it's better than Punk returning. As far as like what we got out of it, Punk returning is almost its own separate special thing. This was one of those things where I was like, how can you not be romantic about pro wrestling?
Yeah.
How can you not watch somebody like this put on an incredible match, like just a phenomenal throwdown match that not only, it wasn't a squash match because you can't squash Chad Gable right now. You just can't. So they had to actually fight. I hope they wrestle more. And it was just a throwdown. And Penta showed off what makes him great and what's so exciting about him. He did a swanton bomb to the outside of the ring and just like not missed Chad Gable, but like took most of the impact into just basically doing a front flip over the ropes and hitting the ground. Like it was incredible. And then he gave a speech afterwards with his family in the front row. Oh my God, his daughter crying. Like it was phenomenal.
Incredible, man. The whole crowd was just nuts for this guy. And I guess I didn't know like the impact he had, especially probably in California and in those areas as well. It makes sense that
because I believe that's when Lucha Underground was a thing, which I believe he was a part of.
He was a big part of it.
I think in California.
Yep.
We should try to find old episodes of Lucha Underground and try to watch some of those.
We'll do some Patreon episodes.
Yeah.
We haven't done those in a while. We got to get back on that. Yeah, sure. Absolutely, man. So he gave an amazing speech at the end as well, where he said, this is the Netflix era, but it's also the Penta era or something like that. And he spoke completely in Spanish the whole time, which I'm
well,
sure
he went back and forth. There were some,
did.
but I agree. He did quite a bit in Spanish, which was
Loved
fantastic.
it. Absolutely loved it.
And so the thing that we were talking about is, so he wrestles with his brother, usually Phoenix, Fenix. They were the Lucha Bros over at AEW. Their contracts were running up, and Tony Khan said, injury time, which for those who are not familiar, if you are out with an injury in a wrestling contract, more often than not, it comes down to the company's discretion whether or not they want to use that time at the end of your contract.
Right.
And that was the case here, where because I guarantee you, if this was not the case, we probably would have seen Penta and Phoenix up against what's their faces, the Apollo brothers,
the American-made guys. I don't.
Or the Creed brothers, the Creed brothers, the Apollo brothers. But
Apollo. What's going on with Apollo Creed, man? I love that guy. What's
going on with Apollo?
I love him.
Wait, is one of their names Apollo?
No, I don't believe so.
Apollo Creed is the Carl Weathers character from the Rocky films.
Oh, good Lord.
You mean Apollo Crews? You mean Xavier Woods? Or no, or is Apollo Crews a different? It doesn't. We can keep going. Let's just keep going. It's all right.
Did I just expose myself as a racist on our show?
No.
Okay, just make
that happened a couple months ago.
Okay.
That would no. No, but so anyway, it probably would have been a debut of Penta with his brother, and that didn't happen. And we don't know when Phoenix is going to appear on the show, and he has made some not so cryptic tweets since then about how he felt his injury was mishandled in AEW. So a lot going on there, but I'll be excited for when he finally comes over. I think it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Same with Malachi Black, or whatever his name was when he was wrestling. What was his name when he was wrestling here?
Yeah, got me.
I cannot remember. He was great though.
Yeah.
I cannot remember his name for the life of me. He's just Malachi Black now. But oh man, that's gonna drive me nuts. I'm gonna look it up. Also, speaking of tweets, and I meant to say this earlier, did you see what our boy Cody Rhodes was, or not Cody Rhodes, Corey Graves was going through it. Aleister Black was his name when he was
okay.
Okay. Corey Graves very upset that he is not part of the Raw or SmackDown announcing teams. And from the way he said it in his tweet, he was like told that he wasn't famous enough. So that's why he is on neither. I think he's on NXT now, or at least he was last week. He's not thrilled. Here's the thing. And I was talking to my older brother about this recently. I think that most wrestlers turned announcers are not great. Just across the board. That's not anything against them. Like it's a hard thing to all of a sudden switch over and turn on a different part of your brain. I thought Corey Graves was fine. But either way, I do think it kind of sucks that it's like you put your time in, you stay with the company, and then you get dashed to the side towards the end. I think that's a little unacceptable.
Yeah, it happens too often, I think, which is unfortunate. I mean,
and I like Pat McAfee. I think he does a good job.
Yeah, he does a fantastic job. But it's Corey Graves really grew on me. I think he's a great announcer. I'm sure he'll be fantastic at NXT, but I don't blame him. Like, it's just the way things are. Maybe there'll be some more rotations in the future. Maybe he'll get some PLEs.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's unfortunate. I never like to see that. And I don't like to see it public, like, airing their dirty laundry on social media. It's but like that's what social media is for these days, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. For speaking up when you're pissed.
It can make a difference. Yeah, it can make a difference.
Yeah.
What was the next match? We had your boy Sheamus. Or should I say neighbor? I have to.
We might as well.
We got to flex when we can. Your neighbor.
Yeah.
Sheamus versus Ludwig. I love when these two go against each other.
It's another one. It's a program I'm not sick of yet. They've been wrestling for months. They were wrestling. You got to see them when you went to SmackDown with your dad, right? Like that one.
Yeah, it was a dark match.
November.
Yeah, it was a dark match. Oh my god, man. Yeah, these two are just incredible. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that being said, I'm also very excited for a Sheamus versus Braun Breaker 1-on-1. match. Like, I think that's a big, and I think it's fun that they're doing that on Saturday night's main event, like 2 title matches on that night. Like, I do think that that card's going to be very interesting, and I think we could have some surprises. I think Braun Breaker is probably still going to win. But I want everybody to be free for the Rumble. I wouldn't mind if Sheamus wasn't in the Rumble, because they're like, oh, he's the Intercontinental Champion. But then they're like, well, Braun Breaker has decided the week of the Rumble that he's in it and he wants to win. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's, I like them pushing faces that we really haven't gotten to see in the Rumble the last few years. Obviously, Punk was in there last year, but he got injured, and that was a whole thing. And was eliminated, fairly quickly from what I remember. So, but him, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, like, it's just, I think Braun Breaker makes sense to be in that mix as well. And I think Sheamus doesn't have to be. So, I like that they basically went like, here's John Cena saying that he's going to be in the Royal Rumble. And you're like, wow, well, yeah, obviously he's going to win. And then they're like, here's 6 other people that could win the Royal Rumble, like, conceivably. Like, it wouldn't throw people off if Roman Reigns were to win again. It wouldn't, like, especially because we have no idea what The Rock is doing. Like, there is all this stuff. Like, this is an exciting Royal Rumble, because while I do think that Punk is probably going to win, I think the biggest surprise of the night could be the winner. Maybe it's even more than one person. Bring that back.
That happened?
Yeah. Well, it was there were a couple times. It was once with Lex Luger and Bret Hart, I want to say, in like the early 90s. And maybe Undertaker too. It was something where, like, people went over and their feet touched the floor at the same time.
Oh, one of those. Got it.
Yeah. And then we had that big one with The Rock and Big Show in what is probably my favorite lead up to a WrestleMania ever. But that's all nostalgia based as well.
Nostalgia. Hey, let's talk nostalgia, buddy. Let's talk nostalgia. We are back. This is when Jey Uso came out. We got this match with him and Gunther at main event. Let's talk main event, because you have some thoughts. You have some theories. Hit us with what you think. The reason is because I came to you and said, dude, what is going on here? Like, they haven't been really marketing this main event on NBC much. It seems like they kind of put it to the wayside. They were focusing on the Netflix thing. They're focusing on getting us to the Royal Rumble, but it feels like the second main event that we're getting kind of like went to the wayside. And then someone showed up in the promo for this second main event. So I'm going to let you take it from here. What's going on with all of this?
Okay. So as I told you yesterday, I do think that this is probably a contractual obligation with Universal. Getting the WWE Network on Peacock was huge for them. It was huge. And I think they're pretty much aware that everything will probably move to Netflix when that contract is up. I think it's at the end of 2026, not at the beginning of 2026. Even Michael Cole last night was saying how everywhere else in the world you are going to watch PLEs on Netflix. Like, he said something along those lines of like, everyone else, like, you'll watch that on Peacock. Everyone else in the world will be watching it on Netflix. Like, it was, and I'm sure Netflix wants total control over that programming. They might not get SmackDown or something, but if WWE plays out, if Raw plays out well, maybe they will, They
are in the UK, I just learned.
Okay, there you go. They're
getting SmackDown, at least for a limited amount of time.
Sure, yeah. So there you go. Yeah. I think that we could probably see them moving off of cable television entirely. But I do think that Universal saw the writing on the wall, and we're like, you got to do something else for us. You have to give us something. You have to give us something. And that's why we're having these Saturday nights main events. I think there are several planned throughout the year. And if I had to guess, we'll probably see Hulk Hogan promoting all of them via video package, because they're not dumb enough to cart him out in front of human beings anymore.
Or are they, Andrew?
From what I've seen report-wise, is everybody was kind of like, oh, okay, never mind. Like, don't get me wrong. He was booed when he co-hosted WrestleMania with Titus O'Neil. Like, this is not a thing that they should have been too surprised by. But apparently they were. And I think that they are going to take that to heart going forward. They have him promoting Saturday night's main event, which is insane and so tone deaf when they literally built most of the last Saturday night's main event around the return of Jesse the Body Ventura, a man who tried to unionize wrestlers in the WWE in the mid-'80s and was ratted out / struck down by Hulk Hogan. And fans know that. They are aware.
Fans don't forget anything.
No. So, like, Hogan's not going to be sitting at the announce table that main event, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in a few more promos. And it's just, he's just not going to be in front of people anymore. He's just not. I thought that was more tone deaf than actually bringing him out, despite everybody knowing how much of an abhorrent racist he is. And that being, it's not even like you just have the video anymore. Like, there was stuff happening within the last year that were him showing his whole ass, as the children say.
Well, and the biggest thing about all of it, and I even put this up on our social media, like, it's not even so much supporting Trump, because like people cheered the Undertaker when he came out,
exactly.
and he supports Trump, and so does Kane. But when it comes to Hulk Hogan, like, the dude has never once acknowledged the racist things he said, nor apologized, and I think that's where the big core issue comes in.
It's true.
Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Apparently, and apparently he did apologize, quote unquote, to the locker room. Like when he came back to, I think it was like pre-WrestleMania. It was this kind of like, hey, Hogan wants to meet with everybody to say, and it was literally him just going like, look, don't get caught on tape saying stuff. Like, people watch it. Like, it wasn't an apology as much as this could happen to you.
Don't be racist on camera, just in the privacy of your own home. Yeah. Oh, God, I hate that.
Yeah, real bad.
Anyways, let's move on, buddy, to probably one of the other linchpins of the night, and that was the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Lyra Valkeria versus Dakota Kai, and we crowned our first ever women's champion. What'd you think of the match?
It's really insane because the Penta Chad Gable match was so good. This one was still match of the night for me. This one was, just, my goodness. Like, it was tight, it was hard hitting, it was fast, it was emotional, it was exciting. At one point, Lyra Valkeria suplexed Dakota Kai to the outside of the ring, and it was just two bodies hitting the ground.
Terrifying. Oh my God.
Whereas the Penta spot where he flipped over was definitely crazy because he hit the ground. I watched both these wrestlers go off that apron and hit the ground hard.
Yeah.
Hard.
Dude, where has this Dakota Kai been? Honestly, like, she in this whole
Damage Control, right? Wasn't she in over there?
Yeah, she got lost in the mix for a while. She was injured for a long time, but I'll tell you right now, dude, like, she is set for a singles run right now. That's gonna be incredible. I thought she's been like one of the breakouts for me these past few months, ever since she came back. And this, but I will say right now, I think the right person won. They're both NXT imports, which is awesome.
And both titles too. Both of the women's mid-card titles were really good choices.
Yep. But Lyra Valkeria came out on top. Incredible. She actually she won with a what was it? A Nightwing. Her famous Nightwing.
Which I thought was funny. Looks very similar to the Penta Driver. Like, it was both matches ended almost exactly the same.
But she was so good, super emotional. She was so unbelievably elated, and you could just see the gears in her head. Like, oh my God, I'm the first ever. Like, no matter where it goes from here, I have a place in history with the WWE, the first ever women's Intercontinental Champion. And I love that belt. I love how it matches her. It kind of gives it away. It matches her outfit a little bit. Same with her hair. But
great photo op. But I think I think the mid-card women's titles are already doing what they should be doing, which is giving them an opportunity to giving the matches a little bit more heft, a little bit more importance, a little bit more oomph. And I think it's just good for business. It's good for everybody. It's making these things exciting. It's making the women's roster more of like a feature than like an exception, or maybe that doesn't make the most sense, but like it's bringing more of a sense of importance to the roster, which I think is great, and allows again for more stakes. Titles bring stakes, even if like the wrestlers don't always care that they have them. I do remember though Mick Foley saying that you get like a money bump if you're walking around with one of them titles. So
I could see that, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that would only make sense because you're.
At least that was the way 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh God, or like 30 years ago. Now that I'm thinking, oh God, never mind. Next match.
Move on. Our next match of the night. I don't have a slide for it because for me it was as meh as possible. But that's just me. That's just me, buddy. We had Sami Zayn versus The Miz. This was a match.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about the final match. Never mind. That makes sense.
No.
So there were 5 matches.
There were 5. Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I mean no count well. Okay, so we have Sami Zayn versus The Miz. I don't know, man. Like I don't have much to say about this. It's fine.
I just think it's a good match between 2 pros. You know what I mean? Like what I kind of liked about that is like, even the match that has the most like, why are we doing this kind of aspect? Even though I did like I love that everyone still hates Roman Reigns. Even though he's a face, I love that everybody else is like, no, screw that guy.
They can all agree on that.
Yeah, and that they kind of they're giving old Sami Zayn some guff for supporting him. I think that's really fun. But it was still it still felt kind of thrown together. But then I was watching it and I was like, man, A, I love Sami Zayn. B, I love The Miz. I think The Miz is like, I hope he gets to wrestle John Cena this year because some of their matches were some of my favorites. I think it gets not overlooked, but like Miz was at the top of the card for a while, and deservedly so. And so when I get to see him, like, oh yeah, here's The Miz like wrestling, like really wrestling and really throwing down, which I thought was exciting.
We haven't really seen him since Awesome Truth, to be honest. Like,
he's just been stuck with whatever the Karrion Kross nonsense is going on, which is again like a little thin. So like, and even with the Kross last night, he was just he's like, no, this is your problem, man. I got nothing to do with you, even though I started this match. So I hope they
want
just
nothing but the best for Karrion Kross, man. He is such a good actor. I told you last night.
He was really good in that segment. Yep.
I could watch that guy in like a acting 101 workshop and be like, I want to do this. I want to do this. But yeah, good match. Who won?
Mm-hmm.
Sami Zayn, I'm assuming.
Sami Zayn won. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we had this main event, and I will say, just in a little build up here, what I thought was funny is we're having the Dom and Liv Morgan split as it should happen.
Right, I totally forgot that happened.
And I do love that Dom was sporting a Latino Heat shirt last night. Also, they set it up very well, where I think Dom's just about to get kicked out of the Judgment Day entirely, because not to get too much into spoilers, Finn Balor specifically told him not to interfere in the match last night. Mm-hmm. And if he had, numbers game wise, Finn Balor would have been able to win the match. Because he didn't interfere, Finn Balor did not win that match. And I feel like I think last night was the last between Damien Priest and Finn Balor. And if they're smart, next week it starts like, Finn Balor against Dom, I guess.
If this is the last between Finn Balor and Damien Priest, holy hell, man. They went out with a bang. I know I was a little critical last night. It's just because it was long. It was
long. It was a long match. And it's a street fight, like in a very literal sense. Like there's not a lot of like tie-ups and things like that. These guys are just beating the hell out of each other around the ring, which I kind of enjoyed in like a late 90s, early 2000s kind of way. Like it had those kind of vibes. But I will say that my excitement, a lot of it stemmed from realizing I was like, oh, this could be it.
Yeah.
No more after this. That'd be sweet. So.
Yep. So, like you said, we had a street fight, Damien Priest, Finn Balor. It got to the point where there was a spot where Damien threw Balor off of something. The ramp, I think it was. They crashed into
no, they were off in like the side, one of those like entrance ways.
Oh, the entrance ways? Okay.
Every now and then. Yeah.
Yeah. That was scary.
Yeah, and it was a great spot. and it was really exciting. I forget, but yeah, threw some tables, a nice flip. Like it was just, I like that. This week brought a lot more of that kind of stuff to the night. Not too much. They didn't lean on it too hard, but I thought that was good. Also, I love the double tables there that they did. Like there were 2 tables that got broken. Both those spots were great. And I don't know if and I was trying to remember if somebody got slammed on the announce table last week, but this week, if they did, I know it didn't break. I think maybe
it did not break.
Went on. Yeah. And if you look at that thing now, I don't think that table is ever going to break, nor is it made to break. It looks very sturdy and not in the everything folds down into itself. No, now that if somebody goes on that thing, it is not budging.
It's good,
which I thought was kind of fun. Yeah. So once they had set that second table up, I was like, oh yeah, no, you probably can't do the announce table anymore.
We got to go back to tables, baby. The Dudley boys would be proud. I did want to mention, my favorite part of the match, honestly, was when they've done this so many times and it never gets old. Finn Balor was going out on a stretcher and Damien Priest said, absolutely not. Went and grabbed Balor on the stretcher and flung it down to the ring and threw him back in the ring and said, we're not done.
I was wondering how much that, because you do see Balor, or you see Priest kind of lick it a little bit at the end so that it starts going sideways, and it could not have been. I feel like they had to have rehearsed that. Balor was too locked in on that. Right, as soon as it hit the side, he whoop, it just rolled right in.
Perfect, man. It was
really great.
I could see them backstage figuring out the physics to make it work perfectly, and lo and behold, it did. It just I stood up and clapped. I really did. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, and then we got some interference. I'll let you take it from there of how.
Judgment Day tried to come in, and then the War Raiders, who I am just totally sold on, at this point, came in, and I love that they're only do their Viking stuff in the ring, and then otherwise they dress like bikers.
Yeah,
I think that's cool. I loved Damien's outfit, and I loved the dripping blood homages to Scott Hall. That was a great whatever the heck it's called, the Razor's Edge through the table. Yeah. My biggest gripe with this match was every now and then, look, this could have been a writer, this could have been a wrestler, whatever. Every now and then they will try to do something where I'm sure they thought that's gonna be really cool. Yeah, that's gonna be really cool, and drive some stuff home. And Damien Priest grabbing Finn Balor by the neck and saying, I am not my brother's keeper, and then slamming him down. It was just goober stuff, man. Just I don't know. I'm sure it probably felt like a good idea beforehand. They talked about you gotta this is you breaking it up with him, and it's okay, it doesn't make a ton of sense, and it kind of sounds cool, but not really. So yeah. That it was both lame, and I was still just okay, I think that means we're done here, though. So that's nice. I think that does mean, I think we're done, which I'm excited for. So fingers crossed.
Well, I will say, you and I may or may not know a WWE writer, so we'll have to ask if that was one of his gems. Sure. We won't go any further.
I'm sure he'll love. They will love that question. He or she.
Yeah,
we'll absolutely love that. Oh God.
Oh, you guys haven't talked to me in months, and this is what you come at me with. Awesome, thanks, love it. There was a coup de grace into the table, which looked super painful as well.
Yeah. That was pretty wild, especially because he comes back and the table goes into his back a little bit. But I was that was one of those things where I'm I always love when they're oh no, I know we have a table set up, but we have to set up another. My church keeps thinking we have to set up another table. Because this table is for something specific, because there's no way that table breaks as easily as it did just by him, Finn Balor, who probably weighs as much as I do, jumping onto him with his feet. It's just very it looked great. It looked
really fantastic.
It looked great. Yeah.
I think this is the end. I agree with you on that. I thought it was a fantastic match. There's one thing I want to mention that we did not mention last week. I mean, obviously we were caught up in the Netflix debut and everything, but what happened on the SmackDown right before the Netflix debut, Andrew. I can't believe that I personally forgot to mention this.
Oh yeah, Tiffy time, baby.
Dude,
pretty great.
Tiffany Stratton is our
and we had Nia Jax already pretty pissed about that. It seems like we're gonna see Bayley and Nia Jax in the Rumble. That was part of that whole.
Yep.
Yeah. And to get to see Bayley and Rhea Ripley just beat the hell out of Nia Jax and send her out of the ring. But yeah, Tiffany Stratton, new champ. I think that was I think this is the fastest ascent to world champion I've seen in any division in a while.
100%.
They're really big on her.
They're really big on her. She's great. I think she's so on the mic. She'll get there. Her wrestling is incredible. We've been waiting for her cash in forever and ever, and so many false opportunities.
They played it really well. Yeah,
they played it so well. They swerved us. It was fantastic. Nobody saw it coming, and I just thought it was amazing. So we are now officially on Tiffy time. Love it, baby. So what would you give our second week of Raw on a scale of 1 to 5? I don't know why I'm asking this. But
I'll give it a 5. Honestly,
I'm gonna give it a 5. This is this is almost perfect in my opinion.
It was very good. Like it felt. I think it would be easy to be like, oh, this should have been the first Raw, right? But I do think it's undeniable that the celebrity stuff, the kind of spectacle, the grand spectacle of things does work on people that don't watch wrestling.
Right.
I think last week was kind of like, hey, come to the party. These people are here. It's a good time. And then this week was about, this is what the party's really about.
Exactly.
This is what we do here. And
honeymoon phase is over.
I thought it was a great showing. It was, I would agree. It was almost like a perfect night. I was trying to do work for pajiba.com, PAJIBA.com, which I was, if you want to hear me talk about how much I dislike Hulk Hogan, you can find quite a few articles over there.
Sign me up.
Yeah, but I was trying to do work and do some other things, and I kept being like, nope, I'm distracted. I got to keep watching this very good wrestling that's going on. So, yeah, it was exciting. And I think I'm just also at a point right now where I'm as pilled as I could be for the show and the brands and what they're doing. So
I'm gonna say it now. I've never been prouder to be a wrestling fan. I've never been prouder to have started this podcast with you. We actually have a special message from the one and only Dave LaGreca from Busted Open. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that in here now. And then we'll come back and we will close things up. So here's a special message to all of you guys from the one and only Dave LaGreca.
This is Dave LaGreca from Busted Open, and you are now somewhere in the ring. Ryan and Andrew, I wish you all the luck in the world with your new podcast. I can't wait to listen to the newest, hottest podcast in pro wrestling, Somewhere in the Ring.
How awesome is that, buddy?
That was pretty great. It's pretty great. Yeah. Very inspiring too. I like that he really put his whole
almost
self
as
into
if we held a gun to his head and paid him to say something.
Paid him some money. Yeah, that's it.
It's a cameo. I got us a cameo of Dave LaGreca, but like you had mentioned when I sent it to you, he goes above and beyond.
He really did. Yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Loved it. Thanks, Dave. We appreciate that, man. We hope you enjoy the show and give us a 5-star rating.
Hey, there we go.
If you can. Dude, this Raw, huge debut of Penta, historic victory by Lyra Valkeria, Royal Rumble setup. The only thing that I'm going to give it, I'm going to give it a 4.5 instead of a 5. I hate the drone camera footage.
I don't mind that they're trying it. I think can't.
It's like
you can't fail if you don't try. But I don't care for it very much. And the ref cam, I'm also done with.
They always make it a point to be like, we got the ref cam on the ref tonight, guys, and then they never use it. What is going? I don't get it.
If I had to guess, if I remember correctly, Rollins got knocked out immediately last time they tried it. I just don't think they have it. They need to get police body cams that turn on But they have to get like police body cams for it. Like something, whatever that technology is that keeps it sturdy.
Right.
Then it looks ugly.
Yeah.
I also, I more about the refs. I like the new ref shirts. I like the kind of gray. Like, I just think it's kind of like, oh, okay, that's interesting. Why not?
Cool. Yeah.
But the drone stuff, I don't blame you. I will say it just all feels that's all TKO. And when it works, it's great. The following people from backstage out there, like all that kind of stuff that they're trying is great. And I understand that they very much want it to be like, no, this is sports, and this is how we show sports.
Good point.
But the snag that I think they might have learned last night. Oh, wait, two things. And then we did, two quick things. One, because I forgot to mention this last week, but then I rewatched the CM Punk Seth Rollins match with my kids. The red lights in the stands were awful. Awful, terrible design choice, and I'm glad they got rid of it. It was not here this week, but last week, for whatever reason, all the seats were like, all the walkways had like red lights in them.
Was that a venue thing, or was that
I don't know, but I hate it.
I did not.
And I thought it was bad, and they should have just turned them all off. It would have been much better.
Yeah.
But the other thing was that was like what we were talking about right before that. Trying out camera stuff.
Drone footage. Oh boy.
Yes. So the drone footage, they were sold out last week. They put their best foot forward, their big one. They were not sold out this week. And there's a reason. Yes, you could tell, because there were several times where they showed the floor, and the floor that was on camera side was like empty.
I did notice that. Yeah, that is not a good look, man. That means that they're charging crazy prices for those floor seats.
Charging too much, and B, that's why they never show that side. There are whole stories about how, like, WCW, and I'm sure WWE would do this too, where they would take people and move everybody to one half of the stadium, like, to avoid showing that.
Yeah.
Because then it makes that side look fuller, and then it doesn't show that you've got spaces in there. And I think they showed some of those spaces last night. Learning curve, whatever. But I thought that it happened enough that I was like, nobody's noticing this?
Yeah.
Nobody? So,
not the best look. Not the best look. But yeah, like you said, they'll learn, live and learn. Yep. Or lower your prices. I mean, it's as simple as that. Is it simple? Yeah. Anyways, buddy, let's close things out. Like I said, hopefully next week you and I will, fingers crossed, be able to get together and do an episode. We might have a guest, might not. We'll see what's going on.
Yep. Very exciting stuff.
But what do you got going on?
Oh, look, as always, go to patreon.com/somewhereinthering and check us out there if you feel like supporting the show. You can find my newest short film that I wrote, Chemistry Test, up on YouTube. You can type in Chemistry Test Short. I'm sure Ryan will put the link in the breakdown. We've got Pay the Tithe, my other short film. You can watch that as well. One comedy, one more horrific thing, and hopefully something else coming up real soon that I got a big update about yesterday. So that's very exciting. And as always, read my stuff at pajiba.com, PAJIBA. There's a lot of other really very talented writers there as well. So there's lots of good stuff to read, lots of film reviews, lots of entertainment news, but like a lot more opinion driven. And there's some people there that got some good opinions.
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's a great site.
I love it. Well, speaking of sites, I should mention too, I just started writing for a website too. They're a brand new startup. It's called Pop Heist. They cover everything pop culture, and they got me kind of running the UFO beat. So I'm
nice.
Whether there's a new Steven Spielberg movie coming out on UFOs, which there is in the coming year. So I'm super excited about that. It's going to be huge, big event. Or the best 5 UFO documentaries that I think you should go watch if you want to learn more. We cover all that sort of stuff. They cover everything, man. So you can read my first article over at popheist.com. I'll put a link in the show notes for that as well. Check them out. Check out Pajiba. I'm doing the UFO thing every week. Somewhere in the Skies is and there was one more thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm now forgetting it. So it'll have to wait till next week. So
that's fair.
Yeah,
it will wait. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Ryan, I'm going to I'm gonna ring the bell if that's okay.
Please do it. I made a mockery of myself last week.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. That pillow actually made that sound. I did not. That was not my mouth. That's how gold this plush Universal title is.
You look good with gold, buddy. You look good with gold.
Thank you.
This has been Somewhere in the Ring. Thank you for listening. Subscribe wherever you get your pods, and be sure to rate and review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever possible. We'll see you again soon, somewhere in the ring.